it's really a question of giving the creative freedom to the people who are actually managing it and doing something with it and letting them run with their vision. And so you get to see Alex and the current board of directors manage to turn what originally started out as a little storefront on Bleecker Street into such a phenomenal facility.
Metropolitan Avenue.
Well, before the Center for Book Arts, there was, I had a storefront, very much like it was on Bleecker Street, with a bindery and a print shop and an art gallery and classes, and it was like that. But that was not a not-for-profit corporation. What I learned in the 2 years of running that and not making any money was that if I incorporated not-for-profit, I'd make more money because I could get grants. So, there's, all the other aspects of what it takes to do. Plus, I had inherited not-for-profit corporate entrepreneurship. So I think that's part of it. But my vision for the future, what's one thing that's missing here is an endowment. And what we really need is it's one thing to have, look, we've got a $5 million space here, free and clear because the board burnt themselves out between 1999 when they acquired this premises and 2002 when they dragged me back in to be the chairman because they all had to go, and they left me with 4 kids who had no money, who were on the board, who had no history with the organization, and were very well-meaning. And I had to rebuild the board from then, but we all of a sudden owned free and clear because they raised the money in 2 years to pay off the mortgage. So we own this place. However, we can't sell it because where would we go? And we can't take a mortgage out on it because we couldn't afford to pay the mortgage. So we've got the place which gives us some stability, but what we really need is an endowment. So I've been thinking, what happened to my father's organization? Originally, he is associated with the National Conference of Christians and Jews, and when I was little, on Saturday mornings, I'd go in with him to the Building for Brotherhood at 43 West 57th Street, the headquarters of the National Conference of Christians and Jews, and he had 2 floors of that building. So we'd drive in and listen to WQXR, and I'd play on the Royal typewriters there, because I always loved the impression of letters against paper, and it was kind of like that. Today, Religion News Service is again a nonprofit, having gone in the interim to become a Newhouse-owned news service when it divorced from the National NCCJ. Now it's again an independent not-for-profit, and is supported by a new entity, the Religion News Foundation. So I'm beginning to think that what we need to have is the Book Arts Foundation, or the Center for Book Arts Foundation, or something to that effect, which is, because the staff here doesn't have time to even manage this thing, but they do an amazing job, much less get an endowment to do all that. But I think if the board were to organize a separately boarded and run independent foundation that would provide funds going forward and would provide the conduit for it, that would probably be a good model to follow. So when you ask for what's the vision going forward, I would say the vision going forward be to add a foundation that's a separate entity that would do the funding of this activity.